Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel for something that I most certainly did not expect to be making this season. A Premier League preview with Frank Lampard being manager of Chelsea Football Club in 2023. I'm still baffled, if I'm being perfectly honest with you guys. I'm still baffled how we got here. But at the same time, I'm like, well, there wasn't really much left to do. So at least the fan base as a whole, there's a few individuals that are extra crossed with the club now, but most people are at least, just dwelling in the happiness and in the nostalgia of Frank and the legend being in charge, Ashley Cole being back and all sorts. So, there's certainly positives to it. Whether that's going to be any positive going into Madrid next Wednesday, it's going to be a different discussion. And also, will it be a positive going into tomorrow? How much will change? How will Lampard actually set up the team? Me and Aaron were just talking about it before we went live. Like, will he do the same thing he did 2 years ago? Will he do what he did at Everton, where he constantly, I literally just told you, Aaron, I was going to steal your information, and I'm literally stealing information. So Aaron, just before we went live, told me Lampard actually tinkered with the formation all the time at Everton. I was going to tell him to tell you guys that, but now I stole it by accident. But anyways, so at Everton, he constantly changed the formation. Will he do that? Or will he just stick, not necessarily in every detail, but in principle, to what Graham Potter has been doing recently, especially going into Madrid? Because do you really want to start playing a new system less than a week before a ginormous game? That is very much the debate to be had. So we will get into that. And we will just dwell on the fact that Frank Lampard is a manager again. Still can't really believe it. And on that note, we are also joined by Lewis. Thank you for joining us.
Big up, my guys.
Appreciate it very, very much. I have spoken to Charlie and Aaron since Frank's appointment. So even though I did text you your general thoughts, just to I had an idea what I'm bringing on in terms of, because I was trying to get someone that wasn't happy with Lampard, to make it a more, I don't know, cultured.
If Justice is about, I'd shout him.
That's what I'm saying. I had Carlito as well, but unfortunately, Carlito weren't available this early. So, here we are. But Lewis, you told me you are actually quite behind the idea. I will bring something up immediately now because German media has been muddied once again, even though I'm not quite sure how the English media can possibly know this better than the German media. But sure. Simon Johnson from The Athletic does claim that Julian Nagelsmann does not want a new job until the summer. I've always said, as much as I love Frank and everything else to do with that, I've always said, in my opinion, only reasonable explanation for not Frank, but for any interim manager right now, is if Nagelsmann didn't want the job straight away. Now, it seems like that is the case. Whether we will then end up going for Nagelsmann or not, we'll have to wait and see for the summer. But in general, are you excited by Lampard being here? Are you like, I don't even know how I'd best word it, but like, what are your feelings with Lampard being in charge? Now going into Wolves and then obviously taking it to Madrid next week.
I'm fine with it because, I think this season's done, and I think it's been done for a while. I know results still mattered up until Potter being sacked, but that's only because Potter was our long-term manager, and we needed to see something from him. We didn't see anything. Things got gradually worse. He got sacked, but with that in mind, he also tanked our season in the process. Squad was never good enough to beat Madrid with Potter, with Bruno, with Lampard, so it's whatever. I don't expect a win there. I don't really care. It is what it is. We've got 2 games against Madrid. Just go down swinging, at least. But I expect nothing. The league is done. We're not going to go down. We're not going to make top 4. I don't think we're making top 7. And I don't really know if I want us to make top 7. I think we would be better off with 1 game a week. So there's no targets. There's nothing to aim for. What's the point? Why am I going to be angry about it? The season's done. We need somebody to just hold the ship. If we're going to do it, let's give it to a legend. Because you know what? At least it's a friendly face. At least the vibes will be a bit better. It won't be as toxic in the grounds. We'll lose and people will still be trying Super Frankie Lampard and everything. We know what the deal is with the season. There is nothing to aim for. We will not make top 4. You're just setting yourself up for failure if you think we can even get close to that. There's no point. So I don't see the issue with Lampard. All the things I mainly hear is just people worried that he could be getting signed on a permanent basis. There's nothing to prove that unless maybe he wins the UCL. and we aren't winning the UCL. We're not even getting through Madrid, let alone if we get through Madrid and then we have one of Tuchel's Bayern, which will be 2 legs of just pure spite, or Manchester City, which will still be pure spite because we cost them the Champions League final.
But don't forget that Lampard got sacked for Tuchel. So the spite will be reverse, there will be spite both ways if we do happen to end up in the semi-final against Tuchel. But that probably would be a bit concerning. But, we'll talk about that if and when we get there. I see your point absolutely. Season's done anyway, in a sense. My point has always been that I just thought that for the new manager, these last 2 months, having them in preparation for basically starting the job in the summer would have been extremely beneficial in terms of judging the squad, judging what exactly do I need urgently. Like, obviously, kind of camera focus, please. Obviously, we all know that we need a DM, we probably need a striker, we probably need a goalie. So those things are maybe happening anyway. But obviously, if, say, an Nagelsmann, say an Enrique comes in and they sit here and I'm like, okay, yeah, I need a DM, I need a goalie. But actually, I also want, I don't know, a right winger, just as a random thing, right, to name. Then if they only join us in pre-season, by the time we will have signed said player that the new manager wants, it will be like August again. And then we'll sit here for the whole season saying, this new player, he just needs time to settle in. We signed him late. He didn't have proper pre-season. That's what I'm talking about, That's why I'm like, if we had a manager in charge already, that would have been beneficial. But, like I just had on screen, if Nagelsmann only wants the job in the summer...
There's pros and cons to bringing them in immediately, but I'd still think if you bring them in the summer, you haven't missed too much. Like with the climate that we have, fixtures 2 times a week and the fixtures that we have coming up, there's not really a lot of time to bed players into a set style of play. So I don't think it impacts too much. But I understand the points at least. Overall, Lampard being here doesn't impact anything.
No, exactly. Like that's my point of view as well. Like if I have a problem with anything, it's the general consensus of getting an interim manager. That interim manager being Lampard, I have no issue with, if that makes sense. Because once we are accepting that we needed an interim manager, I think Lampard was actually quite some distance by the best option. You touched on it there, like familiar face. Lampard, say we hired some random guy for 2 months now, sorry. They need to bed in. They need to what even is Cobham? Where is what?
Even my thing is, you could have brought anybody in. It wouldn't have changed a thing. That's why I'm thinking, why are people annoyed that the face is Lampard? Who cares? It could have been. You could have brought in Sam Allardyce for all I cared. It wouldn't make a difference. I
wouldn't have been happy with Sam Allardyce because at that point I'm like, if it doesn't matter so badly, but if it doesn't matter so badly, why not just keep Potter until the end of the season?
Because Potter would have left the whole fan base even more toxic. The main aim was he had to be gone at that point. People had enough.
Potter would have made him more toxic than appointing Sam Allardyce, though? Honestly?
Yes.
Okay,
they're not going to be chanting, we want Allardyce out, but they're going to be chanting, we want Potter out, because he's the long-term pick for us. Anyone in an interim role, you can't be angry at if they're here for 11 games. It doesn't change anything.
I guess. And if you announced, okay, Potter will leave in the summer, he will stop trying, the players will stop trying, so you can't really do that either. Exactly. No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong, bro. Aaron, I'll take it to you. I bring it back up on screen. My apologies again that I stole your information. But does it, again, you were pretty happy with it being Lampard in general, like as an interim manager, but does this appease you even more? The fact that we now hear that Nagelsmann didn't want the job right now? Because like I say, to me, if Nagelsmann or Enrique were available now, to not appoint them now, to me, would have been a bit silly. Like, why not? Why not give them extra time to prepare? To me, that would have made more sense. But if he is their choice, obviously we don't know that. The story is that we have 7 names and we want to do an exhaustive, decisive deciding process and all sorts of waffle. Which who knows if that's true or not. But if it is Nagelsmann and the reason is he didn't want the job until the summer, at least I can accept that. I can accept the reason that then I'm like, Frank for 2 months until the guy we want takes over. Makes sense. Do you see it that way too? Or do you have a different perspective, Aaron?
No, I completely get it as well, because ultimately, at the end of the day, if your main candidates, the ones that you actually see as the best fit for your club to take over, aren't actually available until the summer, it then does not make sense to appoint someone else just for the sake of it. So I completely understand and appreciate that they're taking their time with this decision, because it means that they're actually gonna do a lot more for the long-term future of the club. So it makes a lot more sense, if you get what I'm saying. But it's the fact that it's Frank on a short term. It's not the worst thing in the world, to be honest. I don't think there could have been really anyone else that you could have employed who would have then been a better fit for a short-term role, especially his rapport with the fans and being a club legend, coming back into the fold, bringing the band back together with Ashley Cole, Joe Edwards, Paul Clement, etc. So I think it's very clever on their part. It's a very PR-centric move to get the fans back on board after they've just put up with a load of shit with Graham Potter. So I'm not going to sit here and complain. At first, I did realise it would be a bit shit, because this season we've been so poor. So if you're going to be shit with anybody, it may as well be a club legend. And then once you see sort of his press conference and that four-letter A word that he has that Graham Potter doesn't have, it fills you with a bit more confidence, and ultimately it's just going to bring a bit more joy into the fan base. And then at the end of the season, when they evaluate their options and see who they go forward with. But some of the names that are being touted that have been on this list, I've seen Antonio Conte, Nuno Espirito Santo. So I'm hoping they don't pull any shenanigans like that, and they go with between the two front runners that they got in Enrique and Nagelsmann.
There you go. Jester, I do have a question to you, though. I thought you were boycotting Chelsea. Are you just here because you like me and you will not watch the game tomorrow, or have you changed your mind? Let us know. But yeah, I mean, how did they find the Serbia in 10 days? I don't know. Like, I still think sometimes people forget that preseason doesn't equal preseason. Like, a preseason in your second season is very different to starting your new job at the start of a preseason. And that's what I thought these 2 months would have been so useful for, because even if a new manager starts at the start of preseason, you then can't start with like working on tactics from day one, day two, maybe even week one, because first what the new manager has to do, and I'm sure he will watch games and stuff, but he will still only be in training and be able to talk to them individually, probably, once he's here. And then the manager first needs to take some time to assess the squad, because what the squad gives you will change exactly what tactics you're going to use. So therefore, it's very different, in my opinion, to like someone explained it to. Look at Arteta. Yeah, but it wasn't Arteta's first summer, and that's what I'm trying to talk about, essentially. Charlie, I'll take it to you. Obviously, we were on your channel. Was it yesterday? No, it was on Wednesday, wasn't it? Yesterday. And we were talking about essentially similar things. Julian Nagelsmann now, apparently, again, I do wonder how Pletty from Germany, Florian Pletten, whatever he's called, how he, being German, how would he have worse information than Simon Johnson from The Athletic? I'm not sure how that's possible. The German media need to seriously look at themselves if that is true. But you were kind of mostly in agreement when I was saying similar things to what I'm talking about now in terms of the 2 months extra, blah, 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 with me yesterday. Does this give everything more of an explanation in your mind? And does that put your mind even more at ease with like this Frank Lampard thing? Because there are a few people that are a bit concerned about Frank taking over permanently. And to me, it's like, even winning the Champions League ain't enough. The only way in which I would be like, okay, he's done too much not to give it to him, is if he wins every single game. And he obviously won't. But if he did, in all craziest theories, win every single game, I'm like, fair enough. Bro, if you win every game, 9 league games, and then that would be 5 Champions League games. If you do that, fair play. Do you know what I mean? Then take it. But otherwise, just make sure we get a pre-agreement for someone in early, so they can assess the squad. They can, pre-plan things. And also, no one can steal them from under our noses, because that's also what I'm slightly concerned about. Klopp might leave Liverpool, whether that's on his accord or the club's accord. PSG might sack their manager again. They might want another one. Real Madrid, no matter whatever happens with Ancelotti, they might, want a new manager. Or do we then want Ancelotti? So is it then smart to wait until they decide what they do with Ancelotti, and maybe we should go for him? How do you see that, John?
I think there's like multiple factors at play. I think from Nagelsmann's perspective, like he's obviously just come out of a Munich job. He probably wants to wait a little bit, see what jobs become available in the summer. We know that Real Madrid's probably going to be available in the summer. We know PSG is most likely to be available. You don't know what other jobs are going to come up. So I think from his perspective, whilst Chelsea would be a very attractive job, he's not going to be short of top jobs, and there will be a few available. So I think from his personal point of view, it's better to wait and assess what options he might have rather than jumping at the first option and then being like, oh shit, Madrid actually became available. And I would have preferred that. We know that Perez contacted Nagelsmann about the Madrid job before he joined Leipzig. So we know there's a long-term interest there. And let's be real, if Madrid still want Nagelsmann if Ancelotti goes in the summer, let's be real. No, Nagelsmann's not going to pick Chelsea over Real Madrid. You don't say no to Real Madrid, and that's just one of those unfortunate things. But I think it's good that we take our time because, again, in the summer there could be some candidates available that we don't think that they haven't thought about. Ancelotti is a name that has been mentioned. He could become available. Would he be interested in coming back? I don't look at that as a long-term solution. But at the same time, it might be smart to wait a little bit because you get more time to evaluate the candidates. There might be some candidates that become available that you were on your radar, but you thought, it's a bit of a long shot, and they become more viable. So I think it makes sense. And the most important thing is that we don't rush into something and get it wrong again, and then set back the start of this whole quote unquote process even further. We've already had 7 months, or we've wasted 7 months in essence. There are solid foundations there. The squad, we've bought good players in. This needs to be a massive clear out. There is a good starting point for someone to work with, but it's got to be the right someone. So, if we have to wait, we have to wait. And I'd rather wait as long as it takes to make the right decision rather than just rush in for the sake of trying to appease a few people and it be wrong. So, yeah, I think from both perspectives, it makes sense to wait. From Nagelsmann's perspective, it makes sense to wait a little bit of time out of the game. And just assess his options, see what he wants to do. So, yeah, whilst you always worry in the summer that you're going to be up against more clubs, you've still got to back yourself, and you don't want to rush into something. So let's kind of wait and see what happens. But I mean, I don't blame Nagelsmann or Enrique or whoever it is for not wanting to take the job now because it's a bit of a tricky period to navigate. And I think I get your point in saying that it's a chance to kind of work with the players, kind of see what you've got, and have a few games in charge. But at the same time, if he's thinking of taking a job, he's obviously going to be looking at Chelsea players, assessing what players are there, who he thinks will be good for him, who he thinks won't be good for him. He'll have his own tactical ideas. So I don't think you necessarily need that time to make an assessment. Obviously, it's easier to make an assessment when you're there and you're hands-on, but you can still make an assessment from afar.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, in terms of waiting, but would you be happy to wait until we actually finish the season, or do you think we should have some sort of pre-agreement sorted, at least going at some point in May at the latest?
Oh yeah, I mean, look, ideally you want to have a pre-agreement in place so that this is not going into the summer, this is not going into the start of the window. You want to get this lined up and announced to take over for the start of next season as soon as possible. Really, I would imagine in the next couple of weeks it could be done. I mean, this all moves very quickly. Look how quickly Lampard got done, so things can move fast. But yeah, I think a pre-agreement would be nice. We put the fans at rest. We know this person is definitely coming in. So yeah, ideally if we can get that pre-agreement, it would be useful.
Yeah, no, there you go. I mean, this news by Tom Roddy from the Times has been very interesting. I mean, was it Aaron you that touched on it in terms of all the names? Chelsea have drawn up a list of up to 7 names, which will then be made into a short list by Paul Winstanley and Laurenz Stewart before finally being interviewed by Todd Bowley and Benedict Barley. Lewis, what I haven't actually asked you, now we talked about Lampard, but do you have a favorite? Do you have a preference, or are you for the time being potentially even still keeping an open mind, or have you already set your sights on who you would like in an ideal world?
I don't really know too much about all of them, so my whole thing is just whatever Vivell wants is whatever I want, and I don't think he's made too much wrong since joining us. He's wanted Potter out for a while. All the signings that have been under his name have seemed to succeed, or they're long-term projects for us. So I have faith in what he would want for the club long term. Whatever manager Vivell wants, it's whatever one I want. That's the way I see it.
Fair enough. What is interesting though, and it doesn't say this one here, and I can't quite find when Pies tweeted that, but what I found interesting is that there have been some reports, and I can't remember the source. So, please hold me. We look like brothers, Charlie. Does that mean I also look like Thomas Tuchel? I'm not sure if I'm a fan of that.
There's worse, Pete. There's worse.
No, it is true. Sure. It is true. While he was our manager, I'm all for it. But now he's Bayern manager. I don't want to look like that. Do you know what I mean? But apparently, Paul Stanley and Laurenz Stewart were looking at potential replacements, doing a little bit of background work about a new manager, apparently ever since our loss to Spurs, which, as much as waiting until the summer, like we've just explained what positives there are for that, if we've been trying since Spurs, why the flip haven't we figured out who we want then? Like Spurs is miles ago. Do you know what I mean? Charlie, sorry, I was
Oh, sorry, is that me, mate? Oh,
Yeah,
sorry, I don't know
sorry.
where I was then. I don't know. I mean, you don't know how serious it is. Like, you're probably at that point. I mean, Spurs was a real low point. That come after the Southampton game. Well, it was me and Lewis were at Spurs, and we were just getting battered after the game with all the Tottenham fans walking past it. It was a real low point. I mean, that I think was the start of when they thought, actually, do you know what? We may need to be making a change here, but they still stuck with it a little bit. So you don't really know how, advanced the search was, or were they just kind of like putting a bit of a list together? These are who we might speak to if we make that decision. I'm not sure if there was an extensive search going on at that point. I think it was just like,
and to be fair to them, what we should also mention, Nagelsmann was still in a job at that point. So like,
well, exactly. So I mean, look, that doesn't surprise me, and I would think that could well be true that they were thinking about looking at it then, because we were going through a pretty tough time with back-to-back defeats to Saints and Tottenham. But yeah, we know that like sacking Potter wasn't part of the plan. Like they didn't want to do it. You read the stuff in the Athletic, and like, they'd sent out press conference invites for the Liverpool game on that Monday, and saying that Potter was still going to be in charge. And this is something that kind of did change pretty quickly. I'm not really sure there was as much of a contingency plan for it. So, I mean, yeah, look, they've obviously had a little thought about it, but ultimately I just think, do you know what? Take your time with it, boys. Do what you need to do. Just make sure you get the right man. And whoever you decide is the right man, then I think we have to just put our trust in the people that know more than we do.
Fair dues. And now, enough talk about potential future manager. We have now about 7 weeks to go until we need to know that. Now, hopefully we will a bit sooner, like I said, but we do have a bit of time. Let's talk about Frank Lampard, and I'll come back to you with that, Lewis, because what I found interesting is that everyone seems to have slightly different ideas of what to expect from now on. Now, the way you just spoke a few minutes ago, are your expectations for the rest of the season literally just who cares, vibes, let's have a bit of a laugh? Or are there any sort of expectations that you expect, like in terms of expectations that you have in terms of playing a few more youngsters, playing, changing the shape a little bit, maybe already once we have a pre-agreement with someone, being in conversation with said new manager, and potentially, if they say, well, I don't want him, just leave that guy out. Do you also think that the higher-ups, the ownership, have any sort of influence on squad selection? Now, there was someone from the Athletic saying that it wasn't just Potter that decided that Aubameyang wasn't going to be used anymore. Apparently, that was also from the higher-ups. So do you think Lampard will let himself get influenced by that? Do you think he has a choice? Like, do you think, like, what are your expectations for the next 2 months, essentially? And then we'll get on to what I put up on screen now.
Beat Arsenal, please.
Good. Yep.
Great, good.
Hopefully Mudryk winner. That's what I hope.
Yep. Jorginho to Mudryk in the net. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
But other than that, no. Like,
do what you want. I really hope we get a sprint duel between Mudryk and Jorginho. That'd be fun.
Oh my gosh. You know what? Even as a Jorginho stan, I'd back that. That would be fucking hilarious. Yeah. All I want is play players that are on form. I don't want this favoritism thing. If players are playing like crap, drop them and let's try and experiment and see what works best for us. I have very little expectations with the fixtures that we have, with the manager that we have in charge too, and with the squad that we have. Just don't play bums and beat Arsenal, and I'm happy. Win a game or two. That would be nice.
Can we just double check who Lewis meant when he said don't play bums? Can you give us some names?
I'm talking about form, but for now, no Koulibaly, no Havertz.
Yeah, I was just waiting for him to mention 29. That was it.
I'm trying to think if there's anyone else, but no, just them two.
But that's why I asked you the question. If Bowley and I don't want to say just Bowley and the others had anything to do with Potter not using Aubameyang, the chances are Lampard might also be told not to use Aubameyang. And then, because Broja is injured, unless he takes Felix up top, you're going to get Havertz again, no matter whether you like it or not.
Lampard can do two things. He can play Fofana, or he can tell them, look, dickheads, I'm here for 11 games. I'm doing what I want, and play Aubameyang. Because Aubameyang still came off the bench against Tottenham.
Yep.
So all I'm seeing is you can put him in the team if you want to.
To be fair,
even if it is
after that game, they started looking for someone else. So maybe that was the reason.
What was that?
Apparently, after that Spurs game, they started looking for some other manager. So maybe that's why.
Maybe that is
you, Potter.
But I want to see Aubameyang get a start. I know we'll get that into the lineup, but I need a different number 9. I'm sorry. I've been saying it all season. I'm done. Give me a number.
You have to be fair. You have to be fair. Now, little boy here, can you please put in the chat, and I'll try to see it. Considering your thing is purple, I should probably pop out at me who your favorite new manager is. Who you would like, because depending on who you say now, I might have a couple of things to say to you. But anyway, what I have on screen now is what I found very interesting, especially when you compare it to what we've endured this season. This was Frank Lampard's the form under Frank Lampard before he got sacked. So this, what you barely can make out at the bottom, is the Luton Town game, Frank's last game, in which Mason Mount was obviously captain and stuff. That was his very last game after Leicester was supposedly decided that he would get sacked. Now look at this form. In this whole dramatic form, we lost 5 games. Mate, we lost that in a month on the Potter, for flip's sake. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to ask you the question of did we sack Lampard too harshly back then? Not at all. But what I'm going to ask you now, and I'll start with you, Aaron, is Lampard as bad as we and a lot of the other, fans, pundits, and everyone made it out to be? Because when you look at that, certainly not worse than Potter. And you could argue we have a better squad now. At the same time, obviously, there's multiple reasons for Potter struggles. You know, the whole new squad, as many injuries as we had, blah, blah, blah. But still, this is not bad, man. Like, this is really not bad.
I think you still can actually ask the question of whether it was too harsh, because I think it was too harsh. But in the same sense, it worked out very well for us, because then we went on to win the Champions League that same season. So although it was harsh, it worked out in our favour, so we can't really complain. But in terms of Lampard, I do think he gets overly criticised for his job as a manager, because when you look at the resources that he had at Everton, he had piss all up front. He had Neil Maupay and Calvert-Lewin, who can't stay fit.
To be fair, it was him that signed Neil Maupay, so, you know.
Yeah, but then the same way we say a lot of things about people at our club, for example, saying, oh, was it really the manager that signed him? You could say the same thing over there, because they're run like an absolute shit show. So God knows whether he actually had the influence in signing Neil Maupay. He did sign Dele Alli, so that was a howler from him. But same way, I do think his job gets overly criticised, because his resources at Everton were not great. So to be in the position that they were in, it's not too far-fetched to see why that is. But even at Chelsea, although it was starting to go downhill, he still should have been given that more time to turn it around. And in that statement that he actually released himself, he did say, he wished he had more time to really turn it around. And I do think he warranted that, but same way, it worked out well for us, so we can't say anything. But he's overly criticised, and I'm hoping that in these next however many games that we've got we've got the league left. We've got 11 games left or something. So in those, and then the Champions League, he can
9,
actually whatever it is. I'm hoping that he can at least give a better account of himself and actually show that he's capable as a manager. Because even if it means he goes on to find a job elsewhere, it'd be good for him as well to be able to have those credentials on his CV to say, look, I came into Chelsea when they were doing absolutely horribly, managed to turn the form around, got players playing, doing this and that, got results, scoring goals, and that helps his CV out in a sense. But yeah.
There you go. And to be fair to little boy here, he didn't say Nagelsmann, because Nagelsmann does like a fullback at centre-back. So that's why I was going to slate you for what you said before with the whole play centre-backs and centre-back, because then you would have looked like a right clown. But to be fair, you didn't. So fair play. What did I see here? Now, what isn't wrong, and where was the comment here? Where was that comment? Oh, yeah. As much as the form, now we're looking back at it, didn't exactly look bad, we were also still 9th. So, Charlie, now when you look at this form table, if you want to call it that, obviously with the results and opponents as well, not just the form table, does it in hindsight at all feel like it was maybe a slight bit harsh, or is that, as a few people put in the chat, this season has just lowered our standards? Not necessarily our standards of principle, but just, you know what I'm trying to get at. We were still 9th, though, so is it then harsh? Do you know what I mean? Like 9th is still not good enough, is it?
It's not harsh in the sense that, he knew what we were like under Roman, and if you went for a run where you lost a few games, you were virtually done anyway. So, like from that perspective, you can say, "Oh, it was not really harsh." Should he have had more time? I don't know. It was pretty shit towards the end. We were just going nowhere. There were no signs of any progress, and the fact that we were top, we were top. I think in the December then. Yeah. And then the wheels fell off, and that was the end of it. But ultimately, I don't think anyone can look back and say it was harsh, because we went on to win the Champions League, and we definitely don't do that with Lampard still there. So, yeah, it worked out well. You could argue all day about whether it was harsh or not, but ultimately it was the right decision, and you can't argue against it.
Exactly. I mean, you mentioned it there. That was the Sevilla win 4-0 against them, with Giroud obviously scoring the 4 goals, and then we still beat Leeds. I guess crossing over Champions League, but after that is when it took a downhill turn, because, like you said, we were top here. Like 5th of December 2020, we were top of the league. As crazy as that sounds. And the baffling thing about this is more, how did we get from December 5th with 5 defeats and still a few wins in there? How did we even... Okay, a couple of them were in the cup, but still, I guess only 2 of them were in the league. But still, how did you go from top on December 5th to 9th in January? How does that even happen? Like that must also be a
that December, bro. That December was dangerous.
Exactly, but it had to mean that a bunch of other teams had good results, because in another season,
the league had a much better quality than it did now.
Yeah, it would have it would have been much closer as well, the points between the positions.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Mourinho's Tottenham were doing bits. I remember United, they finished 2nd.
Exactly.
Who else? Liverpool had a good start, but then they lost Van Dijk and then they fell apart. Now it's just everyone's being second except Arsenal and City.
Yeah, no, exactly that. I mean, Lewis, if you look at that, is Lampard as bad as we all kind of remember him? Or is it recency bias? And by that, I don't mean Everton. I mean the fact that the last 3 weeks were bad, or month was bad, rather than that he's just bad. Because those are 2 different statements.
It's like with Lampard, like when it was good, it was extra good because it was Lampard. Even though if it was another manager, I feel like we'd see it as more of a process. But when it was bad, it was dreadful. Like, I still remember the feelings I had watching some of those games. Our midfield, for someone who was one of the best midfielders in English history, our midfield was horrific. Genuinely horrific. The attack, I'll just blame that on Tammy and Timo just not being good enough.
Yeah.
Lampard and his defenses as well. Just the whole defensive setup was a mess. Little bit of cap attack sprinkled on all over that too. I get it. I get why it didn't work out, but Lampard was also just not fit for the job. He came, he did the right job. He got his top 4 of a transfer ban. He left when things got too big for him. Is what it is. But that's why I know he can get us results. I know he can have tactical masterclasses in him, but he can also get absolutely outclassed too. It's very inconsistent with him.
Yeah, no, exactly. I did see, I think I might have seen it on Instagram, where some Chelsea fans were like, what does Lampard have to do with Tuchel, Ancelotti, Pep in the Champions League last few rounds? And then someone responded with Lampard getting wins over each and every one of them. Tuchel at Chelsea as he beat us 1-0 with Everton. And that's another thing, the whole Everton thing is another thing where I'm like,
oh yeah, he did.
That doesn't mean you're awful. Ancelotti was near the relegation zone at Everton. Are you now saying Ancelotti's bad? Just asking you that. And I'm not trying to sit here.
I don't think he's a awful manager.
Exactly.
Yeah, we'll use that word. I don't think he's an awful manager. I think he's better than what we had with Potter, just walking in the door.
Yeah.
But do I think he's a manager for where we want to be? No. But that's also, again, why I don't care that he's here. I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it.
And that's absolutely fair. I'm just trying to say, I feel like sometimes Chelsea fans and other fans are trying to paint Lampard as this guy that has just no idea.
A lot of people have Lampard PTSD. That's why I think is. And now they see Lampard walk through the door. It's like all of their biggest nightmares have been realized. But it's like, bro, we haven't handed him a 5-year contract, you know? He's here for 11 games. Like, I don't care. I'm here for the nostalgia.
Bit of positivity, bro. It might be 15.
What?
It might be 15.
Yeah, it might be 15. God willing, it's 15.
Sorry, 14.
Even if that's the case, again, we're all vibing. Passion, desire, intensity. I'm here for it all, man.
Has anyone booked a hotel in Istanbul yet? Or
what?
Has anyone booked a hotel in Istanbul yet?
Yeah, not yet.
Well, I mean, Isaac, I didn't necessarily know where exactly Ancelotti was, but they sacked him and replaced him with Lampard. So they can't exactly have been happy with it. Do you know what I mean? And they were in the relegation before that and multiple times after that. Like,
did they? I don't think they sacked him. He just chose to leave
in the middle of the season.
Yeah, he didn't go in the middle of the season, did he?
Did he not? Well, then I'm spewing complete.
Well, I don't know, but I don't think they sacked him.
Let me go and fact check it, and I'll get back to you.
I don't think they sacked him, mate. I think he just left.
Really?
Well, I mean, I could be wrong there.
He might have left. That's true, but I thought Lampard took over in the middle of the season because they nearly
because they gave it to Big. Didn't they give it Big Dunk? They gave it to Big Dunk till the end of the season, didn't they?
So when did he take over at Everton?
So
mate, they sacked Rafa for Lampard, mate. Lampard replaced Rafa, didn't he?
It was Rafa. There you go. But someone, I was so adamant to me that Lampard replaced Ancelotti, and I was
he replaced Benitez.
Yeah, okay, that explains everything then. Okay, because someone told me, he replaced Ancelotti. I was like, okay, well, I remember when Lampard took over, they were struggling fighting relegation. So there you go. Fair enough. Okay, that makes a lot more sense then. But if Lampard did take over Everton in the middle of the season, January 31st. 2022 he took over basically exactly a year. I don't remember. Well, basically exactly a year before. Sorry, the
Ancelotti one, he actually left in the summer because the Real Madrid job became vacant. That's the only reason he left.
That's fine. Okay, I take everything back that I said, but still, Ancelotti by the end wasn't doing that great at Everton. Let's also be serious. They had a wonderful start of the season. They were like top 4 until like October, but then it severely collapsed.
It did fall off, but for the Everton standard and this team that they have, he was in charge for 67 games and he won 31. So for Everton, that's not half bad for where they kind of the way they run the squad.
Obviously, for where they want to be, and they want to be what West Ham did the last few years, but West Ham are also failing at that now. That is not. So Ancelotti did not get compensation, but Potter did. What are you talking about? Because he resigned and the other one didn't. Are you stupid? What the flip? Anyway, enough about that. Let's talk about. I want to bring up something. A quick kind of statement from Mateo Kovacic, because one of my minor doubts, and I guess I could bring my tweet up in a second as well. Kovacic did have a few words. I'm not sure. Apparently, to Sky Sports News, he said, "We know him. He was our coach. It's good news that he's back to try and change our season because it's not been good. We need to be honest with ourselves. In the end, it's easier to sack a coach than 30 players, but it's on us as well, and we have to do better. We have to say thank you to Potter, who was here and did a good job. But yeah, it's not easy when many changes are here, so it was a tough situation." I did very much enjoy these comments and very much, I like the honesty within it. Like he says, it's easier to sack the manager than it is 30 players. So is there any doubt in your mind at all, Lewis, that because 13 players that were here when Frank Lampard got sacked to just over 2 years ago are still here, and they obviously watched that collapse, even though we just looked at it and it wasn't actually that bad of a collapse? But does that at all, because a lot of people were talking about like, oh yeah, he will demand instant respect and everyone will be like behind him, and I'm like, but are we so sure about that? Because last time he got sacked, they all told us that he lost the dressing room and that's why he needed to get sacked. And now apparently all the players will respect him, even though 13 players are the same players. Now, some of the issue players like Marcos Alonso and a few others are gone. But
yeah, I was going to say that.
Like I say, it's still 13 players of that squad that are here. So like,
if we
I'm
look
not
through
as certain if they're all going to be on like right behind him as much as some fans claim. I'm not saying they will be against him, but some people make it out like that solves every squad issue that we had. I'm like, will it?
Let's look at it from a name by name basis, though. Mendy will be great for Lampard's back because he's got
unless he doesn't play him.
Yeah, but Mendy, he might prefer Mendy, or Mendy will at least feel a little bit happier.
Yeah.
Kepa, yeah, he's screwed. Chilwell, I don't think he'd have too many issues.
Nope,
same thing with Thiago, same thing with Aspi, James. Kovacic is like one of the only names who fell out with Lampard, who's still there. Mount,
and to be fair, Kovacic in that interview didn't sound like he was holding a grudge, at least.
Yeah, because he was falling out with Potter too, from what we were hearing the last month or so. So I think he'd be happy with that. Mount would be fine. Pulisic had more game time under Lampard. Ziyech had his best football under Lampard. Havertz will be fine, and yeah, I think they'd all be good. And anyway,
I see what you're saying, but I'm less talking in an individual from an individual's perspective, but more that whether it was other individuals, but he just lost it, and then we just don't know how much. Like, how are we so sure that James is so like? Maybe James was like, yeah, you know when you're good enough, and that's why he's now not happy with it. Like, we don't know that for sure.
No, but like James got given his first chance by Lampard as well, so there will be a bit of respect on his front. No, for a lot of them, they kind of did, and for some of them as well. Like Lampard's left 2 years, they ain't changed a bit. They've been in a worse crisis than they were under Lampard, so they don't have to settle themselves.
That is a fair point.
We've had to go back to Frank Lampard because you lot have been as shit as Graham Potter's been.
That is true. It's very, very true. I mean, to bring up another thing here, then we'll do a quick quiz before we talk about our potential lineups. There was a very interesting, set of stats released by The Athletic in terms of which players Lampard used the most, essentially, in comparison to how much they were available. I didn't realize Thiago Silva wasn't available that much. I guess he didn't join the first summer, did he? Only joined in the second summer. So,
yeah.
All right. Didn't he get sent off as well, though? So that would have missed 3 games.
True. That is true. But yeah, next was N'Golo Kante. That makes sense. Next was Mason Mount. He will be one to talk about. Ben Chilwell, Edouard Mendy. The weird thing is, Kepa isn't even that far behind him, obviously, because Kepa was still first choice when Frank initially took over. Aspi, hopefully he won't get any game time now because that's the last thing I want. Pulisic, of course, you touched on it. Lewis, Reece James, Kovacic, Havertz, Ziyech. Ruben is another baffling one, but I'm like, he was on loan in the first season, and Lampard didn't even make it past the halfway point of the second season. So how is he even on this top 13 list? I don't really understand. But, or is it just all the 13 that are still here? Maybe it's that. That would make a bit more sense, wouldn't it? But yeah, there you go. Do you expect, and we'll talk about, our predicted lineup in a little bit, but do you expect, and I'll start with you, Charlie, do you expect any kind of shock returns to the starting 11? Whether that's a Mendy, whether that's a Mount, whether that's a Pulisic. Pulisic wouldn't be a shock, of course, but a shock certainly would be, for example, Hakim Ziyech. Do you expect any of that to happen?
You can never say never, but for me, I'd say it's unlikely. We've seen how well Kepa's been playing this season, and obviously, whether you think he's good enough long term to be Chelsea number 1 or not. I mean, I personally think not, like a lot of people do, but there's no denying that he's been, despite making a few errors, he's been very good for Chelsea this season. So it would be a little strange to just at the first time, just to literally replace him with Mendy, who's played no football since God knows how long. But I wouldn't think so. I think if Lampard was here on a permanent basis, it would be a different conversation. But the fact that he's here for such little time, like, I don't think you can be coming in and making sort of like wholesale changes like straight off the bat, particularly with the Madrid game coming up as well, like on the horizon a few days after Wolves. I think the obvious one is, will Mason Mount get back into the lineup? But then where does he fit in? Does he put him into the front 3? Does he switch to a midfield 3 and he plays as one of the 8s? Who knows? But other than maybe Mount coming back into the lineup, I don't think there's any shocks that we could see. Mendy would be one, but I think I still feel that's very unlikely. Ziyech, I think no chance. He might be in the squad, but I'd be shocked if he was starting. So yeah, for me, it would be Mount returning to the lineup, which kind of shows how far he's fallen off. That might be considered like a bit of a shock selection.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I thought every Chelsea fan would love Lampard if he beats Arsenal at the Emirates and that title gets bottled. While I agree,
that's all I want. That's all I want.
But every Chelsea
could you imagine a Mudryk
are a bit dodgy in there, in my opinion.
Imagine a Mudryk assist for an Aubameyang winner at the Emirates to sink the title.
I'll skip every game
I
for the
think,
rest
I
of the
think the more
season.
exciting thing would be
Yeah.
seeing Lewis go on back again after that happens. That'd be a field day.
Yeah. I will be on Troop's arse if you don't send me a link to that.
Bro, you got to book him, Anza.
There you go. You know what? Let's take it to a little quiz. I'm not sure exactly what our good friend Bertram has prepared for us, but I'm sure it will be something fun, and I'm sure it will be to do with Frank Lampard. So, boys, get ready, get strapped in. Ladies and gentlemen watching, 350 if you're here. I appreciate you very much. Subscribe if you haven't already, by the way. Hit that like button too. We're on the road to 20,000 subscribers, so please hit that subscribe button. Means a lot. Every new subscriber counts, so please do that. It'd be massively appreciated. Let's get into this. Obviously, play along if you want to. I'm not going to be able to see every one of your messages because I'm on two different screens here. But let's get it started. All right, first question. You just Molyneux something interesting. What happened this week? Seeing as we support Chelsea, where the only thing you can count on is that you can count on anything. And tomorrow will be about welcoming back arguably the biggest legend this club has ever had, and maybe will ever have, to a Premier League game where our very talented team will score a load of goals and win the game. See, I love the optimism. I love it. All right. No, but seriously, Chelsea can't sit 11th. Anyone notice the pictures I used? Brilliant. No, but seriously, Chelsea can't sit 11th. We can't score goals. This season has been an utter piss take, and tomorrow will be a really tough test. Unfortunately, it's true. And I hate the fact that Wolves is a tough test nowadays. But anyway, with all that being said, this quiz will look to some of our other caretakers and how they fared. Starting with the man on the right, Steve Netherlands, Holland. He managed us for one game. How did he fare, and who was it against?
Oh, fucking hell. We got options.
No, I know
Yes,
what game it was.
I know. I
don't know whether we won it or lost it or whatever, but I know that it was after Jose got sacked. Jose got sacked, and it must have been then the 15-16 season, yeah? And before Rafa took over. So it was one game after that, but I have no idea.
No, I've got no idea.
I'm a guess 1-1 draw.
We're doing result.
If Lewis knows, I will keep Lewis to last. Charlie,
I've got no idea. I reckon, yeah, I'd go the 1-1 draw, and it was against. Let's go Everton.
All right, Aaron, any guess from your end?
I have absolutely no idea, if I'm being honest. I don't even remember the geezer. That's how bad it is.
Fair enough. I'm honestly, I'm not even sure who I should guess that it was against. My mind was my first thing was Leicester, but obviously it wasn't Leicester because Leicester was Jose's last game, so it can't be Leicester. I don't know, man. I'm a guess. Everton is not a bad shout, you know. I don't even know who the flip was in the Prem at the time to make a valid guess. I'm gonna say West Ham. Lewis, if you know, tell us.
3-1 Sunderland.
So I was gonna say Sunderland, but I was like, were they in the Prem?
Is that the one we lost?
No, we won. We
won that one.
Ivanovic, Pedro, and Oscar. Which meant Hazard didn't play.
And former Chelsea legend Barini as well on the score sheet.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. There you go. With his one and only game as manager being a 3-1 win, he holds the best ever record as Chelsea was with a win of 100%. See, big up yourself, Steve Holland. Steve Netherlands, that's funny. Which famous match did we play under the interim of Gus Hiddink in 2009? Beating Arsenal 4-1, beating Man City 6-0, beating Man United 2-1, or beating Liverpool 1-0.
I'm pretty sure we smashed them at the Emirates with Hiddink. Because that would have been like when Anelka and that were there. I reckon it was the Arsenal one. I
mean, it could literally be all of them. Because City in 2009 was still shit, so it's possible that we battered them. United, I mean, maybe. Liverpool, I don't know.
I don't even know if we had Anelka in 2009. I know we did, because he missed in Moscow. Yeah, no, we did have him. Yeah, I think it was a 4-1. I think it was a 4-1 against Arsenal. I remember we smashed them. I think Drogba scored like a free kick from out of the box.
Obviously from out
the box. But yeah, I mean, I think it was I think it was the Arsenal one.
All right. Lewis, do you know this one as well, or are you guessing on this one?
No, I know this one. Do you want me to hold it or?
Bro, yeah, no, hold it. Bro, how do you know all of these things? Your memory is mental, especially considering.
All I watch is football in my spare time. I need a different hobby, man.
Yeah, no, it's true, but this was still 2009, unless you watched it back last week. Do you know what I mean?
Season reviews and all that.
I guess so. Aaron, do you have a guess at all? Do you have anything in mind at all?
Bro, I was like 7 or 8 years old. How am I going to remember this?
Well, I don't know.
Bro, I just want to be different. I don't want to go. Charlie's already gone for Arsenal, so I'll just go for Man United. Go on.
All right, Lewis, tell us then. I guess maybe I should guess first. I'm going to say Liverpool. I don't know.
Yeah, it is the Arsenal one. It's the Arsenal one.
Fair play. Yeah, it was that Arsenal one. Yeah, no, fair enough. Fair enough. You're very impressive, Lewis. Fair play. Before his sacking, Frank managed 84 games for us, managing an impressive goal difference plus 55. Furthermore, how many games did we win under Frank? Now,
Is that all comps or is that league games?
That is exactly my question. I don't know.
It's all comps from the looks of it.
All
League
comps.
games, it wouldn't have even been 50 or 60 if it was just league games.
No. I'm going to go 44.
I'm guessing this one, but I'm going to go 44 too.
You know, I'm going to go 61, you know.
I think we got 61 wins.
You are mental.
Bro, we were never winning
60
60
games.
games.
He did tell us the total number, didn't he? Now, out of 84, we definitely didn't win 60.
What?
I take it back. I take it back. I'm going to say 54.
Actually, I might change to 54. 54 sounds a bit more.
I'm changing to 34.
No, you're.
Bro, what?
I
Bro,
think
no, wait. Sorry, Aaron. Bro, Lewis, he managed 84 games, and you think we didn't win 50 of the 84?
There could have been draws.
Yeah, well, yeah, but then we wouldn't have made top 4 and FA Cup finals and all sorts. Do you know what I mean?
I think it's 54. I'm going to go 54.
Maybe. Okay, I'll go back to 44 then. Yeah, 44.
If it's 34, I do apologize. Aaron, what are you going to make?
I'm pretty sure it's 44. It was like a 50-odd win percentage that he had.
Yeah, could be right. Let's see. Seems like it was 44. It's very minorly highlighted.
Yeah.
But it seems like you were right.
You were right.
Fair dues. Let's get to the next one. I'm doing badly on this one. Hey. What's happening? Hello. Why can't I open the next slide, for flip's sake?
Bertram's such a fraud.
It's just the last slide. Taker. I'm not sure if something went wrong.
That was the end.
Supposed to be the last slide. Usually it has like a thanks for taking part slide. But hey, here we are. That is it today. I'm changing to 44. Fair enough. Seen a few messages in it. I just can't believe. I know Lewis did it as well, but I can't believe people said 34 out of 84.
I was just thinking like it was good, but it was very inconsistent. So it might have been. But yeah, 34 wins in 84. That's
like relegation shit.
Yeah.
Especially knowing that we made it quite far, at least in one FA Cup. So it's like, well, you can't draw all those games, so you must win a few, right? And to make top 4, you got to as well. But yeah, no, fair enough. Fair enough. Shall we? Is there anything else that I need to bring up? No. I think it's about time we get into this lineup chat, because what's different today compared to usual, I say what's different from my perspective, is rather than asking you guys what you would like to see, today I'm going to ask you to do a predicted 11, because I feel like in this situation, this might be a tad more interesting. And before that, I haven't dragged anything into place yet. And I'll start with you, Aaron. Do you expect him to stick to a 3-back without specifying 3-4-3 or 3-5-2? But do you think he sticks to the back 3? What happened?
Loz, look at the formation we came up with on my channel.
Oh my god!
What, 4-3-3?
You just put 11 mounts in.
11 mounts.
You could have at least put Mendy in goal. Come on, bro.
It was Jester's idea. But said if he has a team,
of course it was. That was good. Very good. Very good. I was actually in your chat when Chester said that initially. Very funny.
Yeah, he's on loan to Newcastle till the end of the season.
Exactly. Hopefully that goes well for him. Don't die walking up all those stairs, St James's Park.
I'd rather they be top 4 than United or Tottenham.
No, exactly. Obviously, Aaron, do you think he sticks to the back 3, or do you think he changes it to a back 4? Like I say, what you think Frank will do rather than what you would do.
I think he would be very, very ballsy to go and change it back to a back 4 in his first game back. I think he sticks with the 3, if I'm being honest.
I do agree. We'll get into detail about what he does further up the pitch, but in terms of back 3 or back 4, very much in agreement with you.
But also,
Charlie.
if you look at his latter end of his time at Everton, although obviously it's difficult to really draw comparisons, but at the latter end of it, there was a lot of three at the backs as well.
Yeah, no, that is very true. And obviously, people sometimes like to forget about it, say, oh, I always played 4-3-3. Frank did also play a back three, quite a few times at Chelsea too. I think people forget about that. Charlie, do you expect him to stick to the back three as well?
I think so. Having had 2 training sessions and literally just arrived, I would be surprised if he made the changes that quickly. So yeah, for me, it would be I would expect him to stick with the 3.
Okay. Do you expect the same, Lewis, or do you think he will switch it up to a back 4?
I think he's got to keep it as a 4. 3. Forget a 4. I don't want to see a 4. I'm so done with Chelsea as a 4 until we have a better midfield and a better attack, because it weakens both of them, and it even weakens our defense in the process, because we take more pressure. There's less creativity because the fullbacks are being pushed further back. Has to be a 4. 3 has to be a 3. Fuck's sake.
Something's telling me Lewis really wants a 4.
I'm traumatized. Bruv. I've seen enough of those games.
But then in fairness,
3-4-3 for now. We can obviously change to a 3-5-2 in a little bit. But for the first time in months, we actually have a decision to make a goalkeeper.
I don't think
partly
we do,
because of a different manager, partly because Mendy, ever since last week, seems to be back fit. So with that said, I'll go in reverse order. So I'll start with you, Lewis. Do you think Mendy comes back in, or do you think for maybe the first couple of games, maybe until after the first Madrid leg, until he can kind of settle with a little bit less pressure? Do you think until then he might keep Kepa in, or do you think it's Mendy?
Yeah, I think he'll try and keep things as close to the same as usual. So yeah, I think Kepa goes back in.
All right, Charlie.
Yeah, I think Kepa stays in as well. I think it would be pretty ballsy to come in and make that change like straight off the bat after being here for 2 days. So I think he sticks with Kepa certainly for the early part.
Yeah. Okay. Aaron, do you agree with the boys?
Yeah, I think there's not enough time for him to really come in and stamp his authority and make a goalkeeper change straight away. I do think it's a bit outlandish if he came in and done that, because you'd want to try and stick to the most normality in the squad as you can. Although you're going to make your changes here and there, you don't want to overly change things that you don't have to. So I don't think he would change the keeper. As much as I want it personally, I don't think he would.
Fair enough. I mean, Pi says Mendy will start. It's interesting. I honestly don't know. I mean, Supreme asked, is Mendy actually fit? Well, to be honest, I don't know for sure, but he was on the bench and he is a goalkeeper. So I feel like once you make the bench as a goalkeeper, you are also fit. Otherwise, you wouldn't be on the bench, because if your starting goalkeeper gets hurt, then you need to bring that other one on. And so you got to assume that he is fit. I have a feeling Mendy might start, but I still think, if you're asking me to do a predictor 11, I'm trying to get as many right as I can. I think for tomorrow and Madrid, the first leg, Kepa will play. After that, he might give Mendy a game or 2 and then decide who he goes with for the remaining games. I think that's what he might do. I think he might give both a game or 2 and then decide who to go with until the end. Because I don't think Lampard is a man that is like, well, last time I bought Mendy and Kepa was awful. He will look at them again now. He will also look at take words obviously from what the goalkeeping staff tell him, because Kepa is a very different man now compared to who he was and the player that he was when Lampard left. Like, it's very different. As much as he still has his issues, long shots, a couple of mistakes in him, of course, but it's still very, very different from back then. Especially, I think, as a man, he's developed drastically. And I personally think Lampard will be quite a fan of that change in Kepa. But I could be wrong. But there you go. With the majority, we go. So Kepa it shall be for the time being. Go on.
Also, if we were to play devil's advocate for a second, do you not think there's a possibility that maybe he plays Mendy tomorrow, sees how he does, and then has that ability to properly make a decision before the Madrid game? Because if he hasn't seen Mendy play in a while, then it's going to be difficult to potentially even throw him in. You just assume Kepa's going to be there. So if he actually gives Mendy the game tomorrow, it might give him a decision to make in terms of, okay, he sees what Mendy does out there, whether he's sharp, whether he's still a bit rusty or not, and then he can see who's the better fit for Madrid.
All right. I mean, Pi says whoever starts tomorrow starts in Madrid. I probably agree with that. I mean, do you see him at all experimenting Charlie, tomorrow? I just
No,
think tomorrow
I
is
don't.
is the
No,
last one where you
I
need to
don't
prep.
think so. I mean, you could argue about a bit of rotation to keep players like kind of fresh from Madrid, but no, this is not the time to be experimenting 2 days, like 3 days out from a Champions League tie in Madrid. You know, you always see when, even if it's an interim or whoever it is comes in, first game, people always play it safe. We saw Tuchel do it. Porter's first game played it safe. It was a 1-1 draw at home to Salzburg. Managers play it safe in their first game. They tend to go with experience and kind of what they know. But I don't think you need to be making a change in the goalkeeping position. I know Lampard obviously was a fan of Mendy and brought him in, but a lot's changed since then. Mendy's not what he was when Lampard was here, and neither is Kepa, but Kepa for a positive reason and Mendy for a negative reason. So, yeah, I think it's I'd be surprised if he did it. I just think it's a bit of a ballsy move to make so soon.
Fair enough. Let's get to the back three then. Aaron, I'll take it back to you. You can tell me your back three in one go. Well, depending on how quickly you can decide on it. But who would you fill the back three with? Obviously, someone in the chat earlier said, play centre-back to centre-back. I still think, especially Cucurella, other than the mistake against Villa, has done very well for quite a while now in that position. But I really don't think Frank Lampard will give two flips. And as much as he will keep most of it the same, I think if there is one position that he does change, it's Cucurella playing centre-back. Do you agree? And who would be your three centre-backs? Especially considering that Thiago is still out, of course.
Yeah, mine would be Badiashile, Koulibaly, and Fofana. I do think that change at left centre-back, he probably will make it, if I'm being honest, because having those three taller physical centre-backs, you're a little bit more defensively assured rather than playing a full-back at centre-back. And I think as a first game in, if you're coming in, you want to make sure, firstly, above everything, that you keep a clean sheet. And I think putting the actual natural centre-back who's going to stay back, you're not going to have Badiashile pushing on the way that Cucurella does, really high press and trying to pressure the game. I don't think Badiashile would do the same. So it might be better defensively, a bit more stability in terms of bringing him in. So I think he'll do that. I think it's Badiashile, Koulibaly, Fofana.
Fair enough. Lewis is not quite back yet, so I will go to Charlie first. Do you agree with Aaron's pick of a back three? Or, like I say, in terms of, do you agree with Aaron that that's what Lampard will pick as the back three?
I think so. I think Fofana, definitely plays us a no-brainer. At the moment, he's our best defender with Silva out. It's unquestionable. He's got a great link up on that right-hand side with Reece James going on. Koulibaly is going to play in Madrid. He's going to play in this game because he needs the minutes in him to keep him sharp for Madrid. And then I think it makes sense for Badiashile to come back in. I think Badiashile is the sort of player that Lampard would quite like. And I think for Cucurella, even though Cucurella is most likely to play in the Bernabeu, I think...
Oh, yeah, because of Badiashile, of course.
Yeah, because Badiashile's not there. So,
do we have any inkling, by the way, when Thiago might be back? I swear he's been out on the pitch at least since last week, but I don't know.
He's not going to be back from Madrid. He's not in the squad for this one. He's not going to be back from Madrid, is he? Let's be honest. No. Second leg, maybe, but...
But with that in mind, now that I thought about that, and I probably should have thought of that before I said it to Aaron, obviously Badiashile can't play in Madrid, if Cucurella in a way has to play in Madrid, unless Reece plays right centre back, and obviously Fofana and Koulibaly fill up the rest of the back three. If we have to play Cucurella on Wednesday, wouldn't it be smart to keep playing Cucurella tomorrow?
Possibly, but he can still come off the bench and do something.
I guess so.
No, I think that's what he'll go with.
There you go.
Sorry,
fair enough.
Just to quickly,
Lewis, before I get to the super chat by QT, let me ask you: who do you expect the back three to be? Especially something that I didn't, highlight before Aaron said his piece. Badiashile obviously can't play Wednesday, so do you still expect Badiashile to play tomorrow? Like I see tomorrow as Lampard purely using it as a preparation for Wednesday, because Wednesday is all that matters. Now, we will most likely not go through anyway, but it's still the only thing to try and go through, because the other games are just like vibes, like you said. Do you know what I mean? So if tomorrow is used for anything, surely it's preparation for Madrid. So I'm like...
I get you. Now you mention it, because I would have kept the same back three, but if you're doing that, then you kind of have to play Cucurella, don't you? Because you need to get him ready for the Madrid match. But then, do you do the same thing for like the Brighton game next week? Because you have Madrid's second leg coming up too. Like, I don't know.
It's true.
You know what? With that in mind, I'd keep that back three because I just think that's the best one. I want to see the best players. Like, Madrid is what it is. I think I'd just rather see the best available players play at the time. And we need Badia Shield back. I don't know why he's been dropped. It's not made any sense to me. Even like when we had the Villa game and Potter played Reece James at right centre back instead of Chalobah, so I don't understand that because he shouldn't be getting dropped either. And I hope Lampard gives him more game time as a result, but
that back probably difficult as well.
I guess, but yeah, with injuries and Thiago Silva comes back, but whatever in it. That back three should be the same.
Laurenz, can I change my back three?
Of course. To what?
It's going to sound rogue, but Fofana, Koulibaly, and Reece James. And the reason I say that is because if you're looking at it as a preparation for Madrid, the right centre-back is going to get attacked by Madrid's left winger. And whenever we played Madrid, the person who was on Vinicius Jr. was Reece James because he's the most likely to be able to nullify his threat and close him down. So if you're looking at preparing for Madrid, surely you might want to line it up in a way that you're actually going to play. And I don't see, although we've obviously got Fofana now, we never had that before when we were playing Madrid. Now that we've got Fofana, I kind of get it. But in the same sense, if you're going to really try and nullify Vinicius, the best way to do that is Reece James. So a possibility of Reece James playing that right centre-back and then Ruben playing the wing-back.
Absolutely. I think you make a good point. But you also make the next good point. We didn't have Fofana last time. Fofana is fast as shit, unlike who we had at right centre-back option at the time under Thomas Tuchel. So I also don't. I think you make a reasonable point. I just don't know if Fofana isn't good enough to change that of Reece having to play right centre-back. Because for me, and I know we're doing predicted 11, and I've not decided yet what I think Frank will do on that, but I personally would leave James out tomorrow. Not leave him at home, maybe, but I wouldn't start him. Because he dropped out of England duty for some apparent ongoing issue, and he's now started both games since then. I don't want him going into Madrid not ready, not sharp, not at 100%. So I'd rather give him one off and then play Madrid again. I think that'd be much smarter. So while I see your point in terms of tomorrow, I think regardless of whether Reece plays right centre-back against Madrid or not, Fofana should play right centre-back tomorrow, if that makes sense. Do you see where I'm coming from with that, Aaron? Or do you not agree with the whole rest thing for Reece?
I started talking and then my brain sort of understood what I was saying about Fofana, so now it makes a lot more sense. So yeah, sorry, my bad.
No, it's all good, bro. It's all good. Let me get to this super chat. Why are people talking about Madrid? We are all vibes now. Bowley brought the Avengers to please the home fans. Lampard versus Ancelotti. One ex-Everton manager against the other ex-Everton manager. Do you know what I mean? I don't see a difference, really. Why are people talking about Madrid? I assume that can't be a serious question. It's the only thing left to play for. So as much as we're unlikely to do it, we're still going to be the only thing. It's still the only thing that's left to play for. You know what I mean? So, I think that it's as simple as that. That's why people are talking about it. See, you've still put something in my mind, though, Aaron, in terms of the whole Reece, because there's still an option in my head that Lampard is more likely to shift Fofana over to the left for Madrid and play Reece on the right than he is playing Cucurella. I just don't, because Cucurella isn't fast either. If Cucurella was fast, it would be a different story. But because he isn't fast either, I don't know. I'm going to stick with this for this one, because if I don't think it's Cucurella next game anyway, then I might as well. And I would still personally give Reece the rest, and I hope Frank will do the same. I don't think he will, personally, if I'm honest, but I hope he does. There you go then. Coming to the wing-backs, do you at all think Reece will get a rest tomorrow, Charlie? Or do you think he starts on right?
No, mate, we're not in a position to be taking luxury. We might not in a position to be making
nothing to play for. Do you need to rest players?
Yeah, but does he need he's been out he's been out quite a lot anyway. Like I think mate, we need to play your best team to start with, and then you can just take them off if we're in a good position. Like, we shouldn't be too much of a problem playing on a Saturday than playing on a Wednesday.
Oh no, in general it shouldn't be, but like I say, he pulled out of England and then started both games with us since. So I'm like,
no, I think he'll be fine. I think Lampard will pick him. It's going to be him and Chilwell. That it has to be, because the other option is you play Ruben.
Yeah, and Frank hasn't actually done that. Obviously, when Frank was here, I said something wrong earlier. I said he was on loan at Fulham in the first season. That's wrong. He was on loan at Fulham in Frank's second season, and just came back from his Achilles injury in Frank's first season. That's how it was. So he hasn't played Ruben at right wing back. Not sure what he will think of that at all. But yeah, Chile on the left is guaranteed. I'm not 100% sure on this, but most likely, I think because it's his first game, I think it will just play him. I think it will be much better to rest him. But I think Lampard, being his first game, will have to do what he has to do, in his opinion. Lewis, do you agree with those two being the two wing backs, or do you think Reece will get a rest?
He could rest Reece potentially, or bring him off in the second half, depending on the result. Yeah, keep the same two. But
like the whole depending on the result is a difficult thing, because we did that all season, and the problem is we just never were in the lead.
Yeah, that's also because we had an idiot in charge.
It's true. So let's see if that changes tomorrow. Not having an idiot, but the result. But yeah, there you go, Aaron. You in agreement as well, or do you think Reece will get rested?
I think just to touch on that Ruben point, I think in fairness, at that point, Ruben had never been tried at wing back, so nobody, like Lampard probably wouldn't have had the thought of, I can stick.
And he also, like I said, he just come back from his Achilles injury and just got a few minutes here and there, and then he went on loan to Fulham anyway. So
yeah, exactly. He never really been tried there, so it's one of those where it provides a different option now. I do think he'll still go with Reece, because that was one of his tried and trusty guys when he was here last time. So I don't really see him dropping him, but obviously it's a case of just managing him as well as possible to try and avoid any little niggles or injuries that he might pick up before Madrid. So potentially bring him off at half-time or early into the second half or something.
Fair dues. I mean, if Aspie was available, I actually think Aspie would start this one, but Aspie is not. So, yeah, it is what it is. Let's get to the midfield then. Enzo, Kovacic, Kante, theoretically Zakaria, Ruben. I pray to God he doesn't start Kante. Please don't start Kante. Don't overdo it. He already played too much last week. He shouldn't, there's no way he should have played 70 minutes. No way. He was so great. I know he was great. He's an alien. But he's always an alien on the pitch. And then as soon as he sees a physio bench, the hamstring crumbles. So do not, please. The Kante is our only hope we have against Madrid. He's our only hope. Do not risk Kante. And as you just saw against Liverpool, Kante clearly does need preparation. Kante was out for 7 months and he played like the best player in the world. So he doesn't need preparation. Please just rest him. Do you all agree with this? Or, I mean, Charlie, you said we need to play the best team. So that makes me think you're probably not going to agree with this. But I'm just too scared to play him. I
think Lampard picks him. Like, if Kante's fit, he plays. Like, that, it's as simple as that. Every manager that's been here, if Kante's fit, or even half close to being fit, he plays. Like, I think Lampard will pick Kante tomorrow, and he'll pick him alongside Enzo.
What I should probably mention, do you even think he will play a 3-4-3, or do you think he will play a 3-5-2 and potentially 3 midfielders? Or if it is the 3-5-2, do you expect it to be a 10 behind the 2?
I would suspect, with how Lampard likes to use wingers, the fact he tried to sign Mudryk for Everton, the fact that, he tried to get Madueke as well, the fact that, he used the 4-3-3 when he was here, predominantly, or 4-3-2-1, whatever you want to call it. So he likes using wide players. So I suspect it will be a front three. I didn't. The 3-5-2 wasn't awful under Bruno, but at the same time, I don't think it was that effective.
Laurenz, you're on mute.
Sorry, thank you, Aaron. I was, again, more saying this with Madrid in mind, thinking like, against Madrid, we might play a 3-5-2 because their midfield 3 is difficult to combat. So maybe get our midfield 3 ready for it. So I'm very sure we'll play a midfield 3 against Madrid. I'm less sure tomorrow. But you still stick by that, or do you think he might, like I said, prepare for Madrid with the midfield?
I personally think we'll stick with a midfield too, because the players we've got suits having a two in the middle. We've got plenty of wide players, so why would we play a system that makes use of none of them?
Yeah, no, I hear that. But would you use that logic for Madrid as well, or do you think against Madrid it will be a 3?
There's more chance of it being a 3 against Madrid. I don't necessarily think it will be, but there's definitely more chance.
Okay, fair enough. I still think this. I think Bowley should just fork out the money and get UEFA to let us play an extra man.
Why don't we just play? Why don't we just play 3 in midfield anyway, and just keep our 3 up top?
No, exactly that. See, exactly that. But yeah, there you go. All right, Aaron, are you in agreement with Charlie about the midfield 2 thing and about Kante starting?
It's difficult because the issue we have is Lampard decided his first game back at Stamford Bridge after his sacking would be at Liverpool, where Kante just happens to pull out an absolute masterstroke. So in that sense, you can kind of understand why he probably would pick Kante, and I'm assuming that he will. After seeing that performance live in the flesh, I don't think he can really go against picking Kante, and I think it will be in a 2 with Enzo. But when it comes to Madrid, I think you're going to have to err on the side of caution a lot more than compared to Wolves. So I do think he'll end up rolling with the 3 in the midfield for Madrid. So yeah, for tomorrow, I think it'll be Kante, Enzo. But then same way, it could also be one of those where he ends up playing the 3 and then Kante roams into the 10 again. But at this point, it's just too hard to predict. So I think on Wednesday it'll definitely be a 3, but tomorrow I'm going to go with a 2 for now.
All right. I'm undecided. This is just taking a call, so he'll be back in a second. And gentlemen, again, subscribe if you haven't already, by the way. Over 360 if you're here. Appreciate that. So again, please do subscribe on the road to 20,000 subscribers. Very close to 17,000 subscribers. So help us get there. And hit the like button. That'd be massively appreciated. Yeah. I think I agree with you boys in terms of tomorrow that he will pick a midfield 2. I have hope in Frank's caution. The guy is here to help Chelsea, first and foremost, not himself. And I think helping Chelsea is resting Kante. I think that. So I hope he does that. But do I think he does that? Honestly, no. I think he will probably play him and hopefully take him off after an hour. Hopefully. Don't give him 70. Don't give him 80. Please take him off after an hour if you have to start him. But it is what it is. I'll take it back to Lewis with that in a minute once he's back. I guess we could end the poll about who will be in goal, where you guys also picked Kepa in terms of Lampard picking Kepa. So I'll give you an option now. Whether I'll ask you about Kante, or I'll ask you about midfield 3. No, I'll ask you about Kante. Do you think Lampard will start Kante tomorrow? And you boys in the ladies and gentlemen, in the chat, please place your vote once I've place the poll there. Place your vote, and then we'll see what you guys decided in a few minutes' time. Before Lewis is back, let's take it to the front 3 then. Aaron, I'll let you go first. What are you expecting? Now, just to put it up quickly, obviously in the last few games, Havertz wasn't actually up front. Obviously, it was very fluid, and Havertz still spent a lot of time in that area. But, well, I guess in the last game, it was that anyway. But even before that, on the Potter at least, it was that, and then with someone else here, or even Felix here and Mudryk was up top. So what are you expecting tomorrow, Aaron? Do you see Aubameyang starting?
This is the thing. Like, I would love to see Aubameyang start because we can't score a goal to save our fucking lives. So the fact that you have, okay, he might not be the best in the link up and all of that sort of shit, whatever. But he knows how to find the back of the net, albeit he hasn't shown it as much at Chelsea. But I do think that we could potentially see a cameo for Aubameyang. I don't see him starting because he hasn't played in so long.
That's another thing that I think people need to consider. The man hasn't played football. And he didn't think he would play football either. So how hard did he realistically train, knowing that he wasn't going to get picked?
In the training pictures of Lampard, he seemed all smiles. So that might be a good sign, but he had the however long it was against Spurs. I think it was 10 odd minutes or something, 15 maybe.
And that was in February.
Yeah, exactly. So other than that, he hasn't played. So
Yeah.
I don't see him starting. Maybe a cameo off the bench, but
Yeah, I
don't
agree. I
think-
think he'll have to be on the bench, and I think he will come off the bench, but I don't think
yeah,
he'll start.
I don't think Lampard will probably change all that much. I think the only change might be Pulisic comes in for Mudryk. I think because Pulisic is very tried and trusted with him, and the fact that Pulisic is back to fitness, he's been able to play some minutes. I think he might chuck him in for Mudryk, but the same way in that sense, we also know that he wanted Mudryk and Madueke both at Everton, so I feel like there could be big parts for them to play in the minimum 11 games that we've got left. So I can see potentially both of them making their way off the bench, as well as maybe a Mount in a midfield role or something. So. I'd probably go Pulisic, Felix, and Havertz. As much as I don't want to see Havertz, I really don't want to see it. I just think on that as fluid as it is, more on that right hand side where he's sort of been coming off of, it's only really Madueke or Ziyech. I don't see Ziyech making his way back in, and I just don't think Madueke gets the start. So
I mean,
think that's how...
it could be Mudryk and Pulisic. Pulisic has played this position plenty.
I just don't see Havertz getting dropped. That's the problem. I really don't see it.
Yeah, and Havertz is probably also less likely to play up front now with Frank, because I mean, obviously he had options back then, which obviously now he doesn't.
He had Tammy and
because
Giroud.
then he had Tammy and Giroud and Werner, so he had other players to play up front. Now, I mean, Pice says Sterling. The problem for me with Sterling is he only came on for 10 minutes last
I
game.
thought it was less than that, wasn't it? Didn't seem that long at all.
I think he came on the 80th, pretty exactly.
I
but
think with the injury time, it became 10 minutes.
Maybe it was with injury time being 10 minutes. So that's why I just don't think he's fit to start, because otherwise he would have played more last game. Therefore, I see it as very unlikely that he starts.
Yeah,
purely
that's
for
the
fitness
basis
reasons.
I went
I think once he's fit, I agree he will start almost every game on a Frank. But for the time being, I just Potter clearly likes Sterling as well. So if I guess it was Bruno last game, so maybe that isn't a fair judgment. But if Sterling was fit, I just think he would have come on much, much earlier. So that's why I don't see him starting. Charlie, I mean, Pice, put your front three in the chat. Or not your front three, the front three you think Lampard picks. But what's the front three you think Lampard will pick, Charlie?
I think he picks Mudryk.
Instead of Kai or instead of Pulisic?
I'd probably say instead of Pulisic. I think Havertz will play.
Yeah. Anything more?
If you're asking me what I'd do, I'd personally go Felix, Mudryk, Sterling. But I think for me, that's what Havertz picked. Not Havertz. I think that's what Lampard picks.
There you go. Fair enough.
We know he likes Mudryk.
We know he does. We also know he likes Pulisic. To be fair.
There's a lot of people talking about Aubameyang starting. I don't see how. I think he'll be in the squad and he could easily get minutes from the bench. Right, this guy's not played since Tottenham, and he played a few minutes on the bench there. God knows when his last start was. He scored one Premier League goal for the club, and people are acting like he's like the second coming of R9. Like, he should have more opportunities for sure. But like, it's not like, oh my God, we've got this unbelievable footballer on the bench and we're not using him. He's not all that. He should definitely be in the squad and get more minutes than he is. But let's not pretend like he's the answer to our goal scoring problems.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with that. Because the chances that Kai misses, although just wouldn't have a lot of them. He will still is more likely to score each one, but he's still less likely to have each one, in my opinion. But part of that is also because he hasn't played for months. That is also rustiness will also play a role in that. Lewis, I'll take it back to you as you're back. Let me see what that poll is looking like. Two questions after you, because going back to midfield for you. Do you think he goes for midfield too? Because I think against Madrid, Charlie wasn't as sure, but me and Aaron are very convinced he will play a midfield 3 against Madrid. And I personally think you'd be mental not to be honest. At the same time, we can't say anything's possible. But so that question, do you expect a midfield 2 or a midfield 3? And then do you expect Kante to start, or do you expect Kante to get rested? Because, he had his first start in 7 months in midweek. And is he now going to start 3 games in a row? Because he will start in Madrid, that's for sure.
I think we play a midfield 3 because Lampard was at the game and he saw how well and effective that was. So I don't know why he would change that. So yeah, I'd go Enzo, Kante, Kovacic, and I'd play 2 up top.
Do you think that's... And I mean, I assume Lampard would have that logic as well. Is that midfield three though did it not just only work that well because of how Liverpool play, while Wolves will play very differently, and then you would rather have an extra attacker than an extra midfielder?
Yeah, because Wolves will be more defensive. I can kind of understand that.
Yeah,
Maybe it would be smart to stick to a 2, but I would like to see that 3-5-2 in future games because I do think it was effective. But yeah, we can stick to a 2 in midfield then.
But you also think he will start Kante regardless of whether it's a 2 or a 3?
Yeah.
All right. Fair dues. I mean, the chat agrees. 85% have picked yes. Still think you're all crazy for wanting to start a man that's not started for 7 months to start 3 games in a row. That is insane stuff. And then you will all complain again when the player's injured, and then we'll slate the players for being injury prone.
It didn't start.
Then you still all want to pick him, which I find baffling. But hey, fair enough.
It didn't start 3 in a row, Laurenz.
No, but if he starts Liverpool tomorrow and Madrid, it's 3 in a row.
Oh, but I didn't realize you were taking Madrid into account. I thought
because he's definitely starting Madrid, right? We know that. Unless he gets injured tomorrow, he will start in Madrid. Will he get rested for Brighton, or does he start that as well and Madrid again, and then just start 5 in a row?
It'll be the most Chelsea thing for Kante to get injured tomorrow.
Exactly. And one other thing to mention: no one's mentioned Mason Mount yet. This is Frank Lampard we're talking about here. He was sat in this press conference yesterday talking about what a big player Mason Mount is for Chelsea. Now,
yeah, but he's not going to say he's not, is he?
Mason is. So that is another thing. We don't know. Can he even start? He hasn't even come off the bench. So
I mentioned a cameo off the bench, but definitely not a starting role.
Yeah, fair enough. Lewis, then front 3. Now we have gone for this midfield 2. If it is a front 3, who do you expect that front 3 to be? Or who do you think it will be, shall we say? Pick up Lewis.
Pick up my G. Yeah, I would just push Felix back and put Ober up top.
But do you think Frank will actually do that?
I would hope so, because he did want Aubameyang. And I'm thinking, again, he was there.
But he did also want Havertz, so...
he didn't want Havertz. He was a board signing. If you actually check it, he never asked for him.
I don't know if I believe that. I feel like that's just...
I will send you the article myself.
Oh, no, I know the article. I just feel like that's another, just...
Havertz is not really
Let's defend poor Lampard against the mean...
No, but you look at Havertz, mate. Havertz is not a Lampard-type player.
He thought he was an 8.
He is?
You think he's an 8?
No, but I would still like to see it try more than it was. That's the only time I remember Frank doing it was away at Burnley. We won 3-0. So, do you know what I mean? Hakim Ziyech was man of the match, to be fair to him. But was it 3-0? I think it was 3-0.
I don't know. I just think that Liverpool performance was a droppable offence in itself.
Yeah. So that's absolutely fair. And he was there, so he will have that in mind too.
Exactly. Or you could play Fofana, I don't mind, but Felix drops back, Havertz drops out, and we put somebody up top.
See, what I think happens is this. I think he plays this.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
I think he plays this. Now, it might be a bit, lacking a lot of height. We will probably concede from corners, but it's Frank. So I wouldn't be surprised if he forgets to think about that, defending corners. Because, I mean, we literally have 3 tall players and everyone will be about 2 foot tall, including the goalkeeper.
I'm just getting changed, but I'm still here.
No, good. See, that so maybe that makes me change my mind again. Not having Ruben, not having any tall players up front. Maybe not.
I mean, we say that he's going to kind of play it relatively safe. You can guarantee when the team news come tomorrow, there'll be 1 or 2 that you're like, what the fuck's that? You can just guarantee it, but it's really hard to decide what those would be.
I think in a sense of balance as well, you have to look at that front line, and Havertz is the only one in the front line who will probably end up winning some aerial duels.
I mean, there's
percentage. With the link-up play as well, you got to remember the link-up play that Felix and Havertz are starting to build as well. I think he might look at that and think he wants to keep that intact as well, especially because it's his first game.
Yeah, that is a fair point. You look at that front line, and there's literally no aerial ability, and there's no physical presence. And
and Frank loves a cross.
So... If you've got Reece James and Chilwell bombing it down, they're going to whip balls into the box. If you've got Mudryk, Felix, and Pulisic, no one's fucking winning a header, are they?
Yeah. It is true. I'm really not sure who he's going to pick between Pulisic and Mudryk. I just don't know.
I think the only contentious position there is Mudryk or Pulisic, really.
Thing is, if Mount starts, by the way, which a lot of people think he will,
it might be Felix, Havertz, and Mount. You know.
Oh God.
No,
Oh God.
Please. Throwing it back.
This is like Mount, Havertz and Werner.
Havertz and Mount back in a front three. That's a proper throwback, isn't it? Lampard in the dugout. We're travelling back a few years.
Mount on the wing, brilliant. It's not really on the wing, but yeah.
Well, no, it's not quite, but yeah.
Unless he does the Mount in behind Felix and Havertz. As a 10.
Maybe.
In terms of, but I'm still not sure if Mount is fit to actually start a game. That's still my issue. Why I'm like less willing to put this on screen, but I do see this as very much possible. Actually,
yeah, that's very plausible.
Even potentially interchanging Kai with Aubameyang, but still, the idea of it, I still see as very much possible. If I'm honest,
it's still very fluid as well.
Yeah.
I just feel there's not it relies so heavily on the wing backs to provide width. I'm not saying they can't do it, but it puts even more impetus on them to do it. Whereas if you've got like actual out and out wide players, it kind of takes the pressure off a little bit for the wing backs to have to contribute.
Yeah. See, I will take Mount out of it purely on the basis that he hasn't featured at all for us since getting injured. So I think the likelihood of
when
him
did he
starting...
last play? I actually can't remember the last game he played. Oh, did he come? Was the last time he played was when he came on at Tottenham? Was that the last time he played?
Nah, it can't have been the last kind of time, surely.
I'll double check now, actually.
I mean, that's the last time I remember, but I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean
it was.
It was. I thought it was.
Wow.
When was that? February.
Yeah, it's February 26th.
Yes, he's not played for 6 weeks almost.
Exactly. Okay, so yeah, no, I just think Mount will come off the bench 1,000,000%, but I just don't think he will start. I just really do not see it. Absolutely do not. I put Mudryk / Pulisic because both have been suggested, and I also can't decide who he's going to pick. I'm very intrigued to find out who he's going to pick. Sorry?
Slap a poll on.
Yeah, I can. But judging by how many people are so certain Kante starts, I'm like, do I trust these polls anymore?
Give the people what they want, Laurenz.
No one cares about rest, but everyone complains when they get injured. That's what I love. Who do you think Lampard starts? And yes, you know what? I'm going to give you the option: Pulisic, Mudryk, or both. You know what? And none. I'm going to give you all 4 options.
Oh, mate, you're spoiling the people.
Aren't I? You know, I hope you appreciate it, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, but if it's none, then who the hell plays it?
Well, I don't know. Felix, Havertz. Maybe Felix and Havertz behind Aubameyang. Lewis will be all sorts of mind blown if Havertz and Aubameyang all of a sudden play
There is
together.
no way in hell Aubameyang starts the game. There's no chance.
Yeah, and I can only repeat it, Eman. Sterling has played 10 minutes into injury. He's not like... I mean, you boys also think Kante should start 3 games in a row. So by that logic, Kante can probably start. But in my logic, and I hope in Frank's logic, it's a bit risky. And do you want Sterling to be injured again for the rest of the season? I don't. Especially because he had a muscle injury, didn't he? So like, you don't really want to risk that there. But Lewis, are you still here and only getting changed? Or you not?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I kind of changed things about, I guess. But I'm not sure if you saw what we had on screen for a minute, but for a second we had like a front 2 of Felix and Kai, or Felix and Aubameyang, doesn't really matter, and a Mount behind it. Do you see any way in which, and I'll ask you in terms of the ones where we aren't sure if they're fit, do you think either Mount or Sterling starts purely on the basis of fitness? Like I say, Sterling has only played 10 minutes last game. Mount hasn't played at all due to injury. So I think both unlikely to start, but do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think both would be off the bench. I could see them as substitutes easily. I don't think they start. I wouldn't mind Felix Oba or Mudryk Pulisic. I heard what you guys were saying earlier about the physical side. You might need somebody that can win headers. I don't think Havertz is the best at it, but I do think he's capable of it. So maybe that would be enough.
Did you actually know that stat that Havertz has the highest aerial percentage of any forward in the Premier League this season?
What?
Yeah, he genuinely does. Well, it was
He
before
wins like
the
half
Villa
his
game.
aerial duels. That must be a very low average.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, someone, and who was it? I can't remember who made that good point. Someone said, well, Havertz obviously clears all the corners. But
Oh, yeah. I'll give him that. He's good at defensive headers.
But my logic was still, doesn't every Premier League team pretty much use their striker to cover the front post for corners? Because I feel like almost every manager that we've ever had does that. So I would assume most managers at other clubs do that.
So
I don't know if he's top for aerial duels, then they probably don't.
According
do it
to that
well.
stat, he's better in the air than Erling Haaland.
Oh, Haaland is awful in the air.
No, but as in winning aerial.
Awful is
duels,
maybe a harsh stat, but when you ask Haaland what he's worst at, is most definitely heading. But I guess like aerial duels is also different to just heading, so who the flip knows? But according to the stats, yes, he is. I'm not going to be able to find it again now. I had it up in the last stream, so if you want to see the stat, go back to the last stream. I put it up on screen in the last one. I didn't make it up, I swear. As much as I like Kai, I didn't make it up. But yeah, let me get to a couple of these super chats before we round this one out. Wing, appreciate you very much. I was going to say he, but judging by your profile picture, maybe she. Who knows? They. No version of Kai starts for any top 10 Premier League team. Well, I mean, that's because he starts every game for us. So, to be fair, we are 11. So maybe. But I think that's wrong, but obviously.
Champions League final, Kai, maybe.
Liverpool.
No.
It would actually be amazing for how Klopp plays football. Who else would he start for? Wouldn't start for Arsenal. Wouldn't start for
Fulham.
He'd start for Fulham.
Man United. He'd get straight in the team over about Wakehorse.
Actually, he's not starting at Fulham, is he? Because Willian is keeping him out.
Well, to be fair, Mitrovic is now banned for 8 games, so Havertz would start for them too.
Okay, I'll give him Vinicius.
Yeah. Who's Brighton striker? Danny Welbeck. Well, yeah, Kai
Evan
Havertz was
Ferguson.
Yeah, Evan Ferguson's clear.
There's no way he's playing over Evan Ferguson.
Okay, fair enough. All right, no, I'll let you have it. Who's ahead of us? Villa? Does he start over?
Ollie Watkins, no.
Nope.
No.
Oh, no, yeah, he does. Come on, boys.
No, he doesn't.
No, mate, Watkins has been decent this season.
Yeah,
for Villa.
Ollie Watkins.
Who knows? Maybe Havertz would have
Villa are
17 goals
boppers,
if
my
he started for
friend.
Villa. Do you know what I mean?
And our number 9 has us in 11th.
Yeah, no, it is true. It is true. But he was also there. Watkins was also there, number 9, when Gerrard had them in the relegation zone. So maybe Havertz's problem is just that they are chip managers. Tuchel, Potter, they're all dreadful. Wait for Nagelsmann. Havertz will score 25 goals.
Oh my god.
But yeah, I don't even know who else is in the top 10. Newcastle wouldn't start for them.
Mate, has Havertz even scored 25 goals for Chelsea?
I think he's just got 30. Just.
I think he might have just got. I mean, I can check for you if you really want to know.
No, because he's basically averaging about 10 goals a season, which for someone who's played basically all his minutes as a number 9 is shocking.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever number it is, I'm going to be disappointed.
Yeah, it is true. Let me go here. All seasons. I guess I could have gone by club.
If you look at the table, Arsenal first. He doesn't play ahead of Jesus. Haaland, he doesn't play ahead of. Wilson, he doesn't play ahead of. Maybe Weghorst. 32
goals Kai has in all comps.
From how many appearances?
130.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, my gosh.
And a whole 15 assists as well.
32 goals in 130 appearances. I swear you've got like centre-backs probably got better than that.
Maybe not quite centre-backs, but...
No, maybe not quite that, but there's definitely midfield players that have probably done that.
I mean, Frank Lampard did that in a season. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I can't bring it up. You were talking through it, Aaron, so I might as well. Arsenal, no.
You guys, I do need to bounce though, so I'm going to bounce. Big up, guys.
No worries, Lewis. Take care. Everyone subscribe to Lewis's channel. Link is down in the description, obviously.
Big up, my guys. Love.
Nice one, bro. See you later.
Appreciate it. We're about to round this one out, anyways. Newcastle, no. I think United, he does start. Spurs, no. Brighton, yes, in my opinion.
No.
Imagine Havertz had the Serbi. Do you know what I mean? If you can make Evan Ferguson look great.
Evan Ferguson is good, though.
Yeah, but you people are doing such a disservice on Kai Havertz, man. My God. The guy had the stats. When he was at Leverkusen, he had stats as good as Messi.
Bro, just expect a bit more.
No, but do I disagree with that? That doesn't mean he's worse than Evan Ferguson.
No, I'm slightly bantering a little bit. He probably would start for a few teams, but he's been
I still guarantee
underwhelming.
he would start for Liverpool. He's miles clear of Gakpo. I'm saying that much.
I mean, Gakpo's probably scored as many league goals as him this season. Actually, maybe.
But that's because Liverpool score goals. There might be shits, but they still score a couple. How many more goals than us have they scored? They've scored 48 and we've scored 29. My God. Oh my God. They've only conceded 3 less than us. How are they even only 4 points ahead of us with that goal difference?
Tomorrow,
I guess they scored 7 against United. That would help.
As long as we don't lose, mate, we're going to finally hit 40 points.
Hopefully. But yeah, let me get to this last super chat here. But Adrian, which aerial duels does Havertz actually win? When was the last time he attacked the ball with his head? Well, I don't know.
I'm pretty sure
the very last time was against Palace when he scored with it. It's a while back, but to be fair, he gets a few headers towards target most games. So he might not score them, but he certainly wins the header very regularly. You can't just disagree with stats. When you start disagreeing with stats, that's just proof of an agenda. It just quite literally is like that. It's like if you're a Potter fan and saying, "No, we're great in attack, but we scored 29 goals in 29 games." We're clearly not. So do you know what I mean? It's just factual. There's not a debate to be had on that one. But yeah,
have you seen the recent tweet Passport about Sterling? What he said, he got asked, "Do you think you have any similarities to Eden Hazard?" What do you think his answer was to that?
Well, I've now seen it since you mentioned it, but it is funny.
It's just a big bum in it. He has to be a meme at this point.
But Raheem, calm yourself down. Don't compare your bottom to Eden Hazard's, right? There's levels to this, all right?
You're Tory Declan Rice talk about Hazard's.
Raheem, just because your body is like this and this is your stomach doesn't mean you've got a big ass. It just means you've got an arch back.
It's just comfort.
Do you remember the Sterling thing at Everton last time out?
Which one's that?
Yeah.
that was bad. When he was bending over and Mina was giving it to him.
Exactly. I will get that on screen. Don't demonetize me, YouTube. It's just football. Look at that.
There's other websites for that kind of stuff.
Oh, my days. It is funny. Last one, ladies and gentlemen. Big Frank Lampard is back tomorrow. What are you feeling? Score prediction, Charlie. I'll start you first.
Well, I'm making the trip, mate, so it'd be nice for once to actually see a win away from home. It's been a while.
How long does it take you to Wolverhampton from yours? 4 hours?
No. Like hour and a half, maybe 2. Because I'm in London tonight, so that's easier.
You're already saying London. Okay.
That's easier.
But are you going back to London as well? Or are you going back home?
Yeah, and I'll go because it's Easter, isn't it? So I'll come back here.
Yeah, that's good.
I'll be honest, mate. Part of me thinks like I'm just thinking of like the scenes in the away end. We win. Lampard, Ashley Cole, all the boys come over. It's like the good old times. Reality of the situation is this has got draw written all over it, mate. The last 2 trips to Molineux have both been 0-0. So if we score a goal, that's an improvement. I'll be honest, mate. As much as I'd love to sit here and say we're going to win, this Lampard coming in doesn't actually change the reality that we're still shit. So
nope, it doesn't.
So, the sentiment of him coming back's made us feel happy and stuff, and it's kind of allowed us to take our mind off how shit we are. But now with that sort of football, the reality sets in again that we're not actually that good. So, how much can he really change in a short space of time? Not very much. Just have to hope the players have a bit of a reaction. So, yeah, that is the last time was 5-2 win.
Tammy,
yeah,
is Ty still in the chat?
Yeah, Tammy hat trick, and I think Tomori scored an absolute worldie from outside the box.
Was that the last time we beat Wolves? Did we not beat them?
No, away.
Yeah, no, I know, but still.
Oh, we beat them. Not beat them away since. We beat them 3-0 at home earlier in the season.
I remember the Tuchel one was so annoying. Didn't Giroud score there? And then we conceded a stupid counter-attack and equalise or something.
Yeah, something like that. I think I don't know. But yeah, I would I'm going to say 1-1, mate. I just think it's got draw written all over it.
Fairs. Aaron, do you agree with Charlie? Do you back the win? What are you thinking?
I really want to say 0-0, just because the last time a new manager came in and his first game was Wolves and we drew 0-0. We went on to win the Champions League. So part of me really wants to say 0-0. But I'm forever the optimist and absolutely a bit of a nut job when it comes to these predictions. So I'm just going to roll with a 2-0.
Fair enough. I know what you just said in terms of, the new manager and Tuchel, but obviously Lampard is miles clear of that Bayern, Donny. So Frank Lampard will win 3-0 tomorrow. He's going to bring himself off the bench, score a hat-trick, and we're going to all go home laughing. I mean,
just remember...
That's the one trick we missed, I think, is registering Lampard as a player.
Player coach. Him and Ashley Cole as player coaches would have been quality.
Exactly. Is he going to be worse than Cucurella defensively? Good old Ashley Cole? I doubt it.
But just remember, in your prediction...
It's just a Ferrari cap, mate. It's just my hair's a mess, and my other hat is kind of a bit shit, so...
In your prediction, you said Frank Lampard will win 3-0. I said 2-0, but I never said to what side. So when we come back to this, I've got more chance of being right than you do.
It's true. It's very true. And now we've got another super chat by Wing. I mean, you're paying me to mug off Mudryk, so I'll take it. But sushi is supposed to be raw, so I'm not quite sure about your analogy here. Because if sushi was cooked, it weren't sushi anymore. Long, quick, certain flop. I just hope you're wrong, because I don't understand why you Chelsea fans just want to trash on our players when you've seen them start 3, 4, 5 games.
Mate, Mudryk's not even played 90 minutes for us, and people are already writing him off.
So stupid, man. So stupid.
Has he not played a full 90 yet?
No.
Oh my word. Fucking hell.
Sushi's overrated. Calm down, Supreme. Sushi's very nice. It was very nice. Just not a fan of the ones with the cucumbers in it. Get away with that, cucumbers. Anyway, did you know, ladies and gentlemen, fun fact of the day, apparently about half the global population taste cucumbers completely different to the other half. Isn't that interesting? But how can you improve that? That's the question I don't know the answer to. But anyway, Wing, I appreciate your super chat. I appreciate everyone that has tuned in. Still nearly at 300 people. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already, please do subscribe. And thank you, Cranky Pants. Bit dodgy, but thank you, Cranky Pants. Appreciate it. But yeah, subscribe if you haven't already. That'd be massively appreciated. Please do subscribe to Charlie's YouTube channel. Link is down in the description. The Blues Brother. Of course, follow him on Twitter. As you can see on the screen, it is Charlie Patrick 0. Link is also down in the description. Please subscribe to Lewis's channel, Carefree Lewis G. Click the @ in the description. And please do also follow Aaron. I know he doesn't really do anything, but just follow him anyway. Say hello. Why not? Laurenz isn't into cucumbers. Girlfriend confirmed. See. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for watching. Up the gels, upwards and onwards. Hopefully, Frank gets us a win tomorrow, and we'll see you next time.